Hello students. Now in this session we are going to talk about decentralization. First we are going to talk about the introduction, and then we'll move on to understand that what is decentralization. Next, what was the need for decentralization in India, and then we shall finally see what was a major step towards decentralization which was taken in the year 1992. Now let us focus on the introduction of this topic, decentralization in India. Now see, federal governments can have two tier of government or even or more than that. Okay, like for example, Belgium had initially Belgium was a unitary had a unitary government. They moved on to have a federal government, wherein they had the third tier also. That was the community government. Okay, so initially when we look at our country, there were two tiers only working, one at the central level and one at the state level. But then it was realized that a vast country like India cannot be, cannot be taken care of. And it was a difficult task because some of the states, like Uttar Pradesh, is as big as, is bigger than Russia, or Maharashtra is as big as Germany. So here, these were the, vast countries with so much of diversity also. So these and diversity means internally. Like for example, let's take the example of our state, that is Uttar Pradesh. If you look at the eastern Uttar Pradesh, it is totally different from western Uttar Pradesh. There's a difference when you look at the Bundelkhand area. There, of course, there's diversity in the, you can say, somewhere or the other, climatically. Of course, Bundelkhand is a plateau region. They have got their own challenges. But Eastern Uttar Pradesh and Western Uttar Pradesh are certainly, because of the topography or the kind of land, we have the way the people, their eating habits. There is diversity. I'm just talking, even it's Maharashtra. Same. Okay, Maharashtra also is very diverse. And so it was realized that it's always better that if we have federal power sharing and if we have another type of government other than central government and state government, then it will below the state government basically, that the third level, third tier, that would certainly be better. And this became the rationale for decentralization of power in a country. And thus, this was the reason which resulted in the third tier of the government, which is also known as local self-government. Okay? And then now we'll move on to understand what is decentralization. Okay, now see, what is decentralization? When power is taken away from central government and state governments and given to local government, it is called decentralization. Okay? Now this, students, we can say that this can also become the definition for decentralization. So I hope you're understanding this. This is very important. You need to understand that not only the power is given from central government and given to state government, but power is taken from central government and state government and given to the local self-government, okay, or the local government. The basic idea behind decentralization is that there are a large number of problems which can be sorted out, which can be really, realized at the local level. Like for example, just let us take a very practical example. If we have, I know my family, naturally very well than your family. Okay, so the same way, the problem, the issues, okay, or whatever, if it is positive, it is negative, the local people will know their issues better than, you can say, a government at the state level. It is always much easy if we present our problems at the local level, and then it can go further. Okay, if it is addressed at that particular, place and point of time, that will always give us better results. Now people have better knowledge of, as I told you, of their localities, and even, they have better ideas that what can be done, because this is the problem, so what is the solution? Everything lies with them. So it's always I think important also, and very, very effective, that efficiently they can handle their own problems, they can find the solution, and they can work upon it. Moreover, at the local level, it is possible for the people to directly participate in decision making. Yes, student, that even happens. At the village level, what happens? It is always easy. It is always easy to, you can say, to participate in decision making. Why? Because at the village level, we don't have much population. That is the smallest unit of a social setup. So that also is possible. And thus we can see that this decentralization, this is, all about what is decentralization, what actually it is. Now let's move on to understand that what was the need for decentralization in a country. Why? Okay, as I told that it was 1992, so naturally you can well imagine for a pretty long time after we started, after independence, and after in 1950 the constitution came into force. Okay, 1952 the first Lok Sabha elections took place, and then why it was realized. Let us see what was the need. The need for decentralization was recognized in the constitution. Since then, they have, there has been several attempts where, several attempts to decentralize, to give more power to the villages, okay, and towns. Panchayats in the villages and municipalities in the urban areas were set up in all the states. Okay, so it was felt that no, let us now, this kind of setup is very important. Municipal commission, local self-government. Lord Ripon was one of the viceroys who introduced this in India. So whatever, it was maybe not because of that, but they felt that why not? Okay. Now, but these were directly under the control of the state governments. I'm understanding. So in order to solve the problem, or to, you can say, to have a better and smooth running of the state governments, this initiative was taken. And initially, what did they do? They decided that they'll create panchayats, because this was panchayat was very, very old tradition of our country. Okay, wherein the elderly members of the village, they would become the decision-making people. If any kind of issue, cropped up, people would go to the Panch Parameshwar, and that was already the system going on. So they decided that it has to be, given legality or something, and constituting panchayat in a more organized manner, and municipalities at the town level. Okay, town, you understand, bigger than many villages. You can say that it's smaller than city and bigger than that village area. So that was set up, but these were again, as it was under the state government only. Okay, they tried to organize the state government, going down, deep down to the village level. Election to these local governments were held regularly. Local governments did not have any powers or resources of their own. But then what was happening, because they were directly under the state government only, as it was decided, if they were trying, attempts were made. They were trying to, you can say, to give, to organize it. But then the powers were not given. Elections also were held regularly. But somewhere or other, the power or the resource did not go down to that level. Okay, so it was not actually working. practically, creating some kind of process, but not uh, letting it work properly. What is required actually, the resources, and basically the you can say the resources, that means the money and all. And even if you're not going to give pass, and only that is on the papers, if it is like that, that okay, we have tried to do that, but it's not, so it will certainly be of no use. So thus, there was very little decentralization in effective terms. The practicality was not there. So finally, what happened? It was basically a step was taken towards decentralization in 1992 through this 73rd Amendment. It was decided that a major step will be taken towards this, and towards decentralization, that is basically taking the powers from the central and the state government and giving it to the local government. Okay, and what were the provisions? So like this, the third tier of democracy was set up in a country, and it became powerful and effective. So what were the major steps which were taken? Okay, what were the provisions which were you can say introduced? Now let us look at that. It is constitutionally mandatory. Mandatory means important. It became essential to hold regular elections to local government bodies. Seats are reserved in the elected bodies and the executive head of these institutions for the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes. Now, students, if you remember, we did in class 9 that how we have got reserved constituencies for Lok Sabha also, and we have the same for the legislative assemblies or the Vidhan Sabha. So like that, only reserved seats are there, so that the weaker section of the society, they don't feel, it's not that they will not get an opportunity to contest elections, so seats have been reserved. At least 1/3 of all positions are reserved for women. Yes. Now this is where women participation, it has really helped out. Okay, and that if there are 5 members, in panchayat, as elected ones, and 1 woman, it is mandatory to have 1 woman, at least 1 woman as the member. An independent institution called the State Election Commission. Of course, okay, if you again remember, we did in class 9 when we are doing about electoral politics. So as we have Election Commission of India, under that only, but it's independent. State Election Commission has been created in each state to conduct panchayat and municipal elections. State Election Commission, as they take care of the Vidhan Sabha elections also. Okay, in the same way, they under their supervision only, this particular, we can say that this particular elections to the panchayats and municipalities, they take place. Okay, and then of course the state governments are required to share some powers and revenue with local government bodies, which was not being done. Though panchayats and municipalities at the village and town level respectively were organized, were set up, but it was not working. So now this has become mandatory that they have to share, and the nature of sharing varies from state to state. Naturally, it is naturally as per the state, as per the requirement of the state. Okay, as we were discussing, as we have got diverse. If you look at the state of Sikkim, it is the smallest. We look at Goa, we look at as we have already, Rajasthan has got its own issues. Okay, Uttar Pradesh has got its own, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. So that depends. Fine, that's quite okay when it all depends on how you're sharing the resources and the powers. Okay, now let's have a look at this governance structure of a country. We have the central government at the top. See, try to understand that how it is vertical. This is basically, and central government is there. Then we have state government, and then at the district, it is known as Zilla Parishad. Okay, and then under Zilla Parishad, we have got blocks. Blocks, what are they? They are Panchayat Samiti. What is Panchayat Samiti? It is at the, you can say that the district, you can town level, because Zilla Parishad, if it is Zilla, it is at the city level, and then the town level we can have or what we call kasba. Okay, there we have blocks, and then of course we have got at the village level we have got Gram Panchayat, and the village assembly is known as Gram Sabha. We are going to discuss about this in the next next video, that is part 2 of decentralization. Then look at this, under this Zilla Parishad and the district only, we have got municipal corporations, that is Mahanagar. Basically we call it Mahanagar, or basically corporations. It is for the bigger cities, like Prayagraj has got municipal corporation. Okay, and then we have municipalities, that is Nagar, Nagar Nigam, at Nagar, that is at the for smaller cities. Okay, for smaller cities, and then we have town councils, that is Nagar Panchayat. So this is the governance structure of a country. Okay, I hope it was clear to you all, and we are in the next, as I told you, in the next video, I'll be continuing with decentralization, and we are going to talk about this particular, local government at the district level. We'll start from the village level and how it goes up to the district level. We are going to discuss about that. We are going to discuss about even the urban local government, that is municipal corporations or municipalities, and of course town councils. Okay, thank you students. Thank you so much for watching.